Okay folks, welcome back to the channel. So we're looking into something pretty specific here, and it's these responses that we've had previously as to kind of the attitude now. And I wanted to explain something to a lot of people who keep saying about working together and everybody getting together to work together. The biggest issue with this is we asked Hexagon for a sit down probably about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer. And we said to them, you know, the costs of a chain are substantial. You need to reduce your running cost. The exact response I got was actually then said in a Twitter space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the response from Hexagon of what was actually said to me. And it's near word for word what I got told when I asked them to reduce their running costs so that the chain could prosper and we could afford to pay all of these different teams. We simply can't. But we're going to be outlining a few things here, because what Hexagon have done is they've understood that there's not a lot of funding, and if they can get in there first, they can go to a monthly payment. The likelihood is they're going to get funded, and they're going to get funded before the other teams, and it's going to put all of the other teams out either way, because there's simply not going to be enough funding moving forward. So let's have a little listen to this clip.
Our long game. You know, so yeah, funding for this chain, right? I mean, what does anyone do when they got to pay their utility bills or any bills for that matter? They go get a job, they go find work, they find something. And I think that as a community is what we're going to need to do, find some means to bring in additional funding to cover the operating cost of this chain, because it's a responsibility we took on the minute we said, goodbye TFL, we want to own this chain. Now it's time that we as a community own that. We just got to figure it out together.
So here you have them saying the community has a responsibility to cover any running costs, and if they can't cover them, they need to go get jobs to pay for those running costs, or simply figure out ways to reduce running costs or find cheaper infrastructure. As they've said, TFL, supposedly, we've wiped our hands with them, but that's simply not the case. So there's a lot of misconstrued information that is fed to the community, so to speak, in these kind of Twitter spaces. So as I was saying, right, they have no interest whatsoever in reducing their running cost back when it really mattered, when it was really important, when it's time to work together and try to figure things out. They weren't up for working together. It was simply this response that we got, and at that point I knew the call was pointless and this sit down was only going to lead to them putting it all on the community, as you've heard here. And that shouldn't be the case, right? So what have I done as a validator? Well, I've gone and done my homework, I've done my research, and I've spoken to different endpoint providers, and I've given the community a choice. You can either have totally free infrastructure from Allnodes, or you can decide to send them a monthly gesture of 150 million LUNC. If you was to decide to pay them, it's 50% cheaper almost than what Hexagon are providing, and it's better. So at what point have I not done what I'm supposed to do as a validator and what they've asked us to do? Go out and reduce running costs. Well, I've gone and I've produced this. Right? It's going to be up and it's going to go for vote. And ultimately, right, we can choose to fund none of them and the system goes on. It does not matter. If we choose to fund Allnodes, it's still 50% cheaper than what Hexagon are charging us. Ultimately, my belief is if you want to provide endpoints for this chain, you should find a way to do that from your own back pocket. It should not be on this community, and it should, what I see this is all at the detriment of the community. You know, this puts everything at risk. They don't care whatsoever. So now what we're going to do is listen to a clip, which is the response of them not getting funded. And this was recorded late last night around 1 a.m. In the UK, because that's what time they held this space, which is really strange. But let's have a listen.
Ask another question. So let's say worst case scenario, the prop doesn't pass. Does that mean that you guys are essentially going to shut down and just go, or what will a rejected proposal mean for Hexagon?
Well, we do have operating costs, right? I mean, let's be real about that.
For sure. That's essentially what I'm asking. Like, how are you going to manage it?
We have financial obligations. I mean, we would have to assess that situation when we get there. Obviously, we have the ability to maybe run for a bit of time, but from a business perspective, would we? If we see no other option, we probably would have to shut down. I mean, you can't just keep the lights on, right? With something of this size, it needs to have some kind of income revenue stream coming in order to sustain it, right? And
so I'm going to pause there. There's only around 20 seconds of gobbledygook left. They don't really say much more than they've already said. But, you know, this whole idea of not being funded, so we'll shut down. Hexagon, this is an absolute prime example of what I've been getting at this whole time. It's just they're here for a paycheck. And if that paycheck's not provided and they can't run their systems and they're not being paid to do it, they're gone. They'll likely go find work somewhere else, or they'll just leave in general. And ultimately, right, all of this has already happened with Allnodes. So Allnodes created infrastructure for Terra C Vita. They got paid one paycheck and then got stuffed. Did they at any point close their infrastructure down? Nope. Did at any point have they asked for a paycheck? Nope. At any point have they even brought it up? Nope. So at what point do we then say to ourselves, well, if they're looking at things from a business perspective and then we look at things from a business perspective, we can have all of the infrastructure for free and we can simply not pay these people. And if we're feeling generous, we can send 150 million as a token of gratitude each month to Allnodes, which is 50% cheaper than what Hexagon wants to charge this community right now. So I see a few validators that have voted yes to fund Hexagon, and it's surprising that they would choose to vote something that's 50% more expensive than what's being put on the table. And it's just at this point, you don't care about this blockchain. You don't care about the expenditures. You're not doing your homework and you're not doing your own research and you're not looking at what you should be looking at. Ultimately, this always comes down to the same thing. Whenever someone tries to show everybody the true insight of the blockchain, they become instantly attacked, instantly fudded. No one at any point is moderating the junk that is being put on Commonwealth. It's absolutely absurd, the level of bullying and fudding that people go to. And it's Commonwealth is owned, and this is all part of this journey, right? Of getting us to a point where we don't need to rely on anyone. We don't have these third-party apps. Everything's built into the system. And with the United Vision, we're doing so much at the same time. If you go and look at it and you look at point 3 of that United Vision, you would see that it outlines the endpoint infrastructure and looking for potential cost reductions. I have gone and I have done that as a validator. I'm doing what I said I was going to do. The dynamic commission module's in works. We're working on things. There's all sorts of different things going on. And at the same time, we're moving forward positively. We're not, like I said, this whole idea of people saying, oh, work with each other. It's not us that have ignored governance. It's not us that have not tried to work with these other teams. It's these other teams that don't want to work with us. They don't want to acknowledge us. You never ever saw someone like me get put on the COC back in the day. They would rather put someone like DJ Trev because they know that I can always call out their bluffs. I can always see what they're doing, and I can always tell if they're being sneaky or doing something they shouldn't be doing. And these people would rather just be able to run the chain how they think it should be run. And this whole dictatorship attitude, it sucks. We always need to do everything through governance, period. Full stop at the end of the day. So some really good things to notice at the moment, just as we're coming into the end of this video, is the technical gauges across board. If you go back and you look at my videos from a couple of days ago, we were down here at the sell. We've suddenly moved up to the buy on the technical. This is a good sign. Like I said, I humbly, and it's my own opinion, I believe that everything for the price currently hangs on what's going to happen with funding and the future of this blockchain. And I really do believe that is going to decide whether we go up or whether we go down. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you folks think. Let me know what you're doing this weekend. Let me know what you are drinking. I hope you enjoyed this late night video. I hope you got some good information from this, and I hope this gets your mind in a place where you start to understand just how criminal these kind of people are, and the fact that if the money's not there, they're gone. Whereas if Allnodes don't get paid and continue to not get paid, it's still going to be there. We need to start understanding who's drilling holes in the boat, right? And who's bailing out water and who's rowing the boat along, because ultimately these people who just vote randomly yes to funding something that's 50% more expensive, and something is there on the table ready for everybody to utilize for 50% less or for free, you know, it's at what point do these people not look like the people that are drilling holes in the boats? You just need to go onto your apps and see who's voting yes, who's voting no. Folks, stay safe, stay humble, stay aware. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao!